In 2024 and for the first few months of 2025, it was seen that Japan was better at Smash Ultimate by quite a bit than North America. And Level Up Expo 2025 this weekend kind of shakes things up a bit for sure in terms of the storylines. So I want to talk about the results, the storylines that kind of come from it, and even potential who's going to be #1 in the world this next year or this next season. So yeah, there's a lot going on. We can all talk about it. Subscribe to the channel. Let's go. So I'm actually going to start in pools. Normally I go from like first place on, but I feel like it's much more interesting to paint the story this way. So we're going to start off just with each of the 4 pools and talk about the stories that came from it. First off, as I mentioned, Japan has been seen as very, very dominant. If you watched my predictions video, I said that Shutone was going to make it out of this pool, but he didn't. He lost to Jazo. 3-1. So already one of the top players in Japan is out of winners bracket before, what is that, like winners quarterfinals. So in the round of 32, he got sent to losers bracket, which is kind of insane. Shinemark ended up making it through this section, beating Loaf, Ouch, and then Jazo. And also something very interesting that happened was the fact that Ludo down here was able to beat Zachary. Zachary, my GOAT, lost to Ludo's Mario. I don't know if he also went Falco in this, but I'm just assuming Mario for this set. So he ended up advancing to fight Kiarash. But wait, Kiarash had to fight Dabuz. Yeah, Kiarash 2025 has been not necessarily the year of Raru's Luigi because he's been off and on in some of his results, but it's been the year of Luigi with Luigi making top 8 at Genesis, Kiarash here doing really well, which I'll get into more as we continue. And of course, Raru's still an amazing player. And also Kiarash beat Ludo, so the upset bracket continues. And then he also 3-0'd Gluttony. Gluttony now has fallen to 2 different Luigis in the farther sections of bracket because he did lose to Luigi to make top 8 winners at Genesis. Gluttony made it here, no problem. He's kind of good. He 3-0'd Marvelous Marco, 3-0'd Cosmos. Cosmos did beat Lemon 3-0. I thought that set would be a little closer, but hey, I don't know what happened in losers. And now let's talk about losers actually. Zachary did beat Chag and Dabuz on his way to lose to Ouch. So Ouch, the British Columbia Titan, did take down one of the Titans of Japan, but then lost to Shutone immediately afterwards. And a story that I want to talk about here, Ice Knight, who lost in round 1 pools. I don't even know to who, let's double check. He lost to Marvelous Marco's Toon Link 2-1, the SoCal native, and then went on a losers run beating Guts, who I don't know who that is, 3-2, beat Loaf 3-2, so Wario Greninja, probably Inkling Greninja here with Colorado, beat Ludo 3-1, Greninja Mario, and then beat Cosmos 3-2 to make top 24 losers. So out of this pool, we have Shutone, Ice Knight, Kiarash, and Shinemark. Next up, we had Spargo's pool, and he ended up making it through to top 24 winners, and I was pretty close. I did say Elijah was going to make it to here. I know what I'm talking about. Beat Snow, right? So Snow's Mario, and again, Snow's Mario has a lot of wins versus like Kome and I think Akio. So again, has the matchup experience. Elijahman says, I don't care. MFA beat Cola, which I also said was going to be low-key a hot set, and then Elijahman was able to beat MFA, so that's very, very interesting. In the bottom half of this pool, we had Dora Migi kind of clean house. We had a close set with Deathspade. I don't know what the, how the games progress in terms of who won what games, but a very close set, which I said was going to be close, and then had to fight Beastly because Beastly upset MK Big Boss, which that's what I'm talking about, baby. Beastly getting a good win finally, and then falls to Dora Migi because he's built different, and then ended up beating Capitancito here 3-1 because Capitancito beat Tweak and Mutace, which I said could happen. Definitely Mii Gunner awkward for these 2 characters, especially Peach. I don't really know the Diddy Kong versus Mii Gunner matchup. If that was streamed, I would probably going to watch these 2 sets because Capitancito did really good, especially again, Tweak literally beat Lammers and then lost to Capitancito immediately afterwards. So Dora Migi made it here, Spargo made it here. That makes sense. They're on a collision course for winners semifinals. In losers, Mutace made it out, beating Lammers, again showing the 3-2 to 3-0 difference, beat MFA 3-2, and then beat Base Mage. Base Mage did beat Deathspade here, finally getting revenge for, the Supernova or Super Smash Con, I think 2023 tournament where Deathspade knocked him out. Cola beat Tweak 3-1. I actually didn't know that happened. Cola also beat Snow. I didn't know this happened. So Cola beat Snow and beat Tweak and beat D-Tier's Ice Climbers. D-Tier actually made quite the run after losing the round 1, beating Vongola, Hyper Kirby's Roy, Beastly in Diddy Kong versus Ice Climbers, and then barely losing to Cola. And Cloud versus Ice Climbers is quite the bad matchup. I don't know if Cola and Cloud or, Roy, but I'm assuming Cloud. So that's a hard thing to do. Oh no, you can't see it. So D-Tier went on a good run. Congrats to them as well. So here, again, in this pool, we have Mutace, Cola, Dora Miggy and Spargo making it through. Kind of sad Capitancito. Oh no, Capitancito made it through in losers. My bad. I didn't realize all 4 of these people made it. So Spargo, Elijahman, Dora Miggy, Capitancito, Mutes, and Cola. And really quick to kind of go back to the previous tab to expand on the people that made it out, because again, my bad. Jazo, Shiny Mark, Gluto, Kiarash, Shootone, and Ice Knight. Sorry. In the third round of pools, the upsets continued even more with just, again, huge upsets. Mia was able to beat FD from SoCal, but Omega was able to take down Riddles with the Joker against the Kazuya and Terry. Only one game of Kazuya, mostly the Terry, but still almost a reverse 3-0 from Riddles, but Omega was able to solid it out. And not only did he beat Riddles in an upset, he beat Mia 3-1. Mia, after losing to Leo's Joker twice at the pre-local, said, "I'm not done losing to Joker," and Omega took him out. The second best player, I guess, in Georgia behind Cola was now in a top 24 top 24 winners qualifier against Light, because Light was able to beat Send and then beat Wrath, because Wrath was able to beat Icon, kind of like I mentioned, and then was able to beat Omega. It's really hard to beat Light in Fox versus Joker. MKLeo doesn't do it. It's really difficult. Syrup was able to take down J Mafia 3-0 and then Chase 3-1, because Chase did beat Mars. I really hope this was streamed. It seems like it was, because they have the stocks available, so that's going to be a hot set. I might watch that as well. Syrup was able to make it to the top 24 top 24 winners qualifier. On these other half, Raru beating Danny Tootheny 3-0, and that makes sense. It's really hard to beat Raru when you are a neutral character. And then Monty was able to beat MVD 3-0, and Raru was able to beat Monty 3-1. Mia beats him all the time, but that doesn't mean Raru isn't good at the matchup. And then Raru was actually able to beat Syrup 3-2 in a reverse 3-0. Very close set. So Raru, literally so far, the only Japanese player to make it. Oh no, sorry. Him and Dora Migi are made it through winners, and a lot of the other Japanese players have fallen, which I will get more into in the final pool. Wrath versus LG Mars to make top 24 after Mars knocked out Mia from the tournament 3-0. So now he is literally 6-0 in games versus Mia. So Mia was out at this is 25th, 33rd place. Riddles had to fight Chase. I feel like they always play Riddles and Chase, and so Riddles was able to win there. Then beat Monty 3-2, so Monty got 25th place after a couple of good major runs, so I would still be very happy if I was Monty. Monty beating Icon here. Again, Mars beating Babunski, J Mafia, Mia, and then losing to Wrath. Wrath was able to beat Danny, who beat MVD. So a lot of good sets here as well, and probably the most shocking pool. Yes, Mia just got 33rd, and I'm talking about the most shocking pool was the final one, where first seed Akola dropped to Karama, beat Opsign Zero Suit, Karama beat Charlie D, and then Karama defeated Akola in Mario versus Steve. Akola has only lost one set in this matchup ever before this tournament to Snow, and then he dropped one here to Karama to fall into loser's bracket. Karama had to then fight another Steve in Onin, because Onin, as we talked about before, had the MKLeo bracket, so Onin was barely able to beat Atata 3-2, and then was able to take down MKLeo after MKLeo beat Captain Krupp, and then Karama unable to take down the second Steve, because Onin, they play very different from Akola. You have to be ready for both individually. It's not just one matchup. And Zomba here had a field day, was able to beat Atomic 3-1 in their mirror match. After Shattuck beat Jja, Zomba beat Shattuck 3-2. Don't know how close the set was, but 3-2 is always going to be relatively close, right? And then was able to defeat Sonics, who beat Mr. E, and Louis Money was able to 3-0 Sonics. That's pretty impressive. I know Zomba has beat him before. I know the matchup's pretty good. I think I mentioned that Zomba would probably win if they had played. I actually don't remember what I said. I think it would be a hot set regardless, but Zomba was able to advance here to winners. So we have Karama, On, and Zomba, and Sonics make it here. And then losers bracket, we have one of the biggest upsets in my opinion of all time. Skinny the Pooh was able to take out Akola game 5. So Skinny the Pooh, the person who upset MKLeo at I don't remember what tournament, but people thought it was a really big deal for him to be able to take out MKLeo, also takes out the GOAT of Japan at the moment in Akola, which is crazy impressive. Akola, for the first time, has placed outside of single digits offline. That's his first offline lower than 9th place literally ever, which is insane. Fell to 2 Mario players, because guess what, chat? Say it with me. Mario is broken. Mario's a stupid character. But yeah, able to win that. which is crazy. And then fall to MKLeo, ironically, in losers. MKLeo, the person that gave Skinny the Pooh like a lot of recognition at first. MKLeo beating Apollo Kage here. But yeah, just was honestly insane. Louis Money and Shattuck were kind of destined to make it here. And then Louis Money actually beating Shattuck, even though the last time they had played, I think Shattuck kind of destroyed him. So that is the top 24 that we have set. So let us go into the top 24. And again, as of right now, the number 1 in Japan has fallen in Akola. The number 2 in Japan, Hurt doesn't count because Hurt's not playing right now, and Hurt wasn't at this tournament. But Akola, one of the best players in the world, is out in 33rd. Mia is out at 33rd. I think Tweak is out at 33rd or 25th. Sonics is in losers bracket. It is a bloodbath right now. So in winners quarterfinals, Zombo was able to 3-0 Onin, which is honestly, I mean, Zombo's really good versus Steve, has a lot of Syrup experience. Oh yeah, Syrup is also someone that's in losers, even though he's been having a crazy time recently. But yeah, Zomba has a lot of Steve experience, you know, was able to take down Onin 3-2. Light was able to reverse 3-0 Raru, which is insane. This matchup is one of Fox's worst for sure. Light, I think, only has one win on a top Luigi before this point. I know Raru beat him at Genesis, so getting the revenge there, was able to make top 8 winners to fight Zamba. Doramigi able to dominantly 3-0 Spargo, kind of insane, but Doramigi has been having a hell of a season. I think his lowest placement this season so far was 5th, so that is really, really good. Min Min Cloud is also an awkward ass matchup, and Kiarash was able to continue the upsets, beating Shiny Mark here, which is crazy. So again, at this point, a lot of the expected Japanese players, Akola, Mia, Raru, Zachary, all these players are in losers bracket or out, and then Raru was not able to make it here in a favored matchup, which is insane. Dora Migi was the sole hope for Japan, but there's still a lot of game left to play. But now let's bring it to losers. We had Capetencito versus Wrath here, who Wrath 3-0'd him. This is just a Wi-Fi classic at this point. Leo was able to beat Gluttony 3-2, which to me is kind of crazy because Gluto has just had Leo's number recently, and by recently I mean the past several years. So honestly, really good stuff to Leo there. Louis Money was able to beat Elijahman in one of Shulk's only losing matchups, and Kaleo was able to defeat Louis Money here, and then ended up making top 8 losers, beating Raru 3-0. I know he had a crazy comeback game 1, so really good stuff to Leo to make top 8 in this section. Jazzo was able to beat Riddles, Wrath was able to beat Capetencito, so Georgia proving strong here. Also, I love the FGC matchups, those are very fun, but Jazzo's had a lot of success against the other FGC players. Wrath was able to beat Jazzo 3-1, I'm surprised he stayed Ken and not went Ryu, but then Onin was able to continue the Steve over Sonic dominance that has been seen recently with Syrup and Onin at, I know at the Hungrybox tournament that I was at, the Coinbox IRL, I know it's happened a couple times since, where the Steves are just starting to beat all the Sonic players. I don't know what changed, I don't know what specificities in the matchup have been developed, but Onin here was able to make top 8 losers, beating Wrath, which I think means that they had 2 back-to-back top 8s at super majors or better. So yeah, really good stuff. Syrup was able to defeat Mutace here. Cola was able to defeat Karama. Syrup defeated Cola in a game 5, really close set, but again, Syrup is really consistent, but Shiny Mark got his revenge on Syrup for the Coinbox IRL and was able to defeat Syrup there to make top 8. So Pika in top 8. Huzzah! Sonics had to fight Shutone in a really close game 5 set, so Sonics got his revenge from Riptide last year. I don't know if they fought since then. Ice Knight defeated Omega, so Chicago is still in, but Sonics promptly defeated Ice Knight 3-0, but unfortunately Sonics had to fall to one of the 2 people I feel like in losers that could potentially, well, I guess Onin would also win. There's a lot of people that can beat Sonics here, but fell into the one that has been beating him the most recently, into Spargo. Spargo was able to defeat Sonics 3-1 with the Roy, continuing to specifically play Roy in this matchup, proving that it's maybe a potentially hard matchup, and not just Spargo being different, because I know there are other Roys like Cola that have been beating Sonics as well. So our top 8 winners bracket: Zomba versus Light, Dora Migi versus Kiarash. Again, congrats to Kiarash. This is his first time, I think, making top 8 at a major, let alone a super major, let alone a premier tournament. And then in losers, we have MKLeo versus Onin. This was a rematch because, as we know, Onin knocked Leo into loser bracket, and Shiny Mark versus Spargo, one of the hardest matchups in the game for Shiny Mark. In top 8, I guess now that we're in top 8, I will go from first place down. Dora Migi was able to win, even though Japan as a whole did not do well at this tournament. Again, Akola and Mia out at 33rd, Raru not getting top 8, Shutone getting like 13th or 17th, Zachary not making it into top 24, Snow not making it into top 24. Like, there were so many top Japanese players that were here, and one stood out. One made top 8, and of course they ended up winning because Japan's still really good at the game. Dora Migi, again, has had a phenomenal season, winning a couple majors, getting second at some super majors, getting 5th at, I think, a super major, so has had a really, really good season so far. And grand finals was against Onin, so Onin was able to make it all the way back. They played incredibly in loser's bracket, dropping 2 games, one to Leo. So Leo took a game, which, hey, that's better than the winner set, was able to defeat Kiarash 3-0, Light 3-0. We gotta ban planking though. Just saying, like, no offense to the Steves that are beating Light, but planking specifically comes out in this matchup a lot. It's really degenerate and really stupid. And then was able to defeat Zomba 3-1, so getting the run back on him as well. So Onin was able to make it to grand finals, but Dora Migi made this set look like a joke. It was, game 4 was so bad. It was insane how one-sided that was. And not only did he beat Onin, he was able to beat Zomba 3-2 in a reverse 3-0. This probably was the set of the tournament. It was such a good set. Zomba started out so strong, and then slowly the cracks started forming, and Dora Migi was able to just take advantage of some key things. And then game 5 just ended up being a little bit less close, still pretty close. And honestly, the most impressive thing is Kiarash brought Dora Migi to game 5. I mean, Kiarash is very good. Again, this is not an insult to him. He was in top 8 of a premier. Like, this is really, really good. But Dora Migi has of like a billion sets versus Raru, so I expected this to be a little bit less close, but I am the future king of Smash, because I think that was what Kiarash used to say when he was high gaming X9, 9x9 or whatever. Kiarash had a hell of a tournament. 5th place is no laughing matter, especially against some really hard walling players like Dora Migi, Shiny Mark, and again, a lot of his wins versus Gluto and even the players before that, so crazy stuff to Kiarash. Zomba, again, had a very dominant tournament overall, looking honestly like the best player in the room after game 2 of Winners Finals, because he destroyed Light as far as I'm aware, was again kind of destroying Dora Migi. Like, I think it was a double 2-stock game 1 and 2, and then again just slowly started slipping out of his hands, but this looked like Genesis Zomba. I don't know if he was upset or pissed when he had to fight on, like he was tilted from Winners Finals, because it was a lot of unfortunate things, like a lot of crazy weird things that happened in that set, but like Onin kind of just ended up dismantling Zomba overall. But yeah, Zomba, again, clearly back to form, 3rd place at a Premier, beating a ton of really strong players and making it look easy is kind of crazy. Light, again, after making top 8 winners, lost to Zomba, but then beat our GOAT Spargo, ended up getting 4th place, getting ledge camped by Onin. And again, each of these games were really close as far as I'm aware. Maybe there was a 2-stock in there. I think the final game was a 2-stock with the diamond walk into F Smash, but still, Light had a really, really good tournament overall. Light has been struggling a bit this season, so I'm glad to see him back to form. Kiarash and Spargo got 5th. Kiarash, I already covered his winners run, lost to Dora Migi and Onin, which, hey, those are 2 good players. And Spargo, after beating Shiny Mark 3-0, because again, Shiny Mark, like, this is one of Shiny Mark's hardest players to beat in the entire world. He was able to beat Shiny Mark, but then lost to Light 3-1. And MKLeo did get double eliminated by Onin here. So a lot happened, but I want to talk about the storylines that are coming for this, especially going into Kagedibi next weekend. I feel like when a lot of North American players went to Japan decimated them, and then Japan would come over here and decimate us overall. And obviously Dora Migi still won the tournament, right? Japan still won, but I definitely think this and the last couple tournaments, honestly, I feel like also Genesis was like this, where like Hurt ended up winning the tournament, but Japan overall had a relatively weak showing. And I feel like for the first time in at least over a year and a half, but it really feels like North America is becoming a lot closer to Japan as opposed to what it was in the past year, when Japan would come over here and win or lose to Spargo, but overall like have like 5 members in top 8 and Spargo would win the tournament. And it finally feels like maybe it's the inverse, where overall North America is doing better, and you know, a lot of upsets are happening with the top Japanese players. It's really looking like when a North America goes over to Japan and you're like, who is this person that beat Zomba? Who is this person that beat MKLeo? Who's this person that beat who's Radikusu? Because at the time no one really knew who he was in North America, the one who beat you know, Spargo. And granted, Radikusu has been doing incredibly well since then, so again, no shots at him, but you know, a lot of people in the US didn't know who that player was, and it's finally looking like that is potentially switching on its head. Obviously, if Hurt was able to come to this tournament, if he wasn't observing his ban from the Japanese scene, or like he's, you know, if he was still playing, maybe there would have also been Hurt here, because the US players have no, like the North American players have no answer for Hurt at the moment, only because I don't go to tournaments, I beat his ass. But you know, Dora Migi definitely kind of pulling the weight here. And again, Hurt is not going to Kagedibi, so that means who's going to win? Is the top 8, again, literally like every top player in North America is going, including a lot of people that aren't even ranked, which is going to be insane. And honestly, for the first time, if you are a top player in North America, like obviously everyone has their own beliefs of like, I can beat anybody, but like I feel like the statistics are finally, you know, switching sides into, hey, North America and Japan are a lot more even than it was really seeming like in 2024. Even 2023, I feel like Japan was doing really well. It was just Spargo, like specifically Spargo and Sonics would beat all the Japanese players, so it didn't necessarily feel as dominant. But then, you know, I feel like the Japanese players just started doing better or doing more in 2024 and had, again, the slew of upsets in Golden Week, like knocking out, like no North American player made top 8 like a single time last year in Golden Week. I think maybe Leo made like 1, but I think actually that was like earlier this year or like the end of last year. But yeah, it was crazy. This has been an insane time to watch Smash. It has been so good. Again, ignoring Steve ledge planking, because honestly, I like watching Min Min. I think she's really cool. I think the grand finals was really cool, even though it was Min Min versus Steve. I think Min Min, again, I think Dora Migi versus Zombo was probably the set of the tournament because they both also beat each other a lot of times. On had a really good run. There's been so much hope, I feel like, for a lot of the North American players when it comes to fighting in the Japanese tournament, and I feel like that confidence can lead into a very interesting Kagedibi. They have a week to recover from jet lag because most people are like literally like leaving as of recording this, maybe like in a couple hours, to go to Japan directly from Level Up Expo. So next week is going to be the killer, and that is going to be probably the tournament that determines #1 in the world, because as of right now, obviously I would still say Hurt is in the lead, but not being able to go to Kagedibi is going to be a huge deal, missing the by far biggest tournament that Ultimate has ever had. So other than him, I think Dora Migi is in first. He has not had a bad placement. He has not placed outside of top 6 at a single tournament, and he's been to, I think, 5 or 6 majors now, and he won the second biggest tournament of the year so far. The only other ones were basically won by Hurt, who currently cannot compete. So if Dora Migi has a really strong Kagedibi, I think he might be ranked #1 in the world next year, but I'll make another video more in depth about that, talking about everyone, talking about him, Spargo, Syrup, all the players that have been doing incredibly well, you know, in Japan or North America or otherwise. And that's going to be it for today. As always, social media and partner stuff is down below. Let me know what sets you want me to watch from this tournament. I will do so, and I will see you all next time. Peace.